A lifelong Binghamton native, Mike served as the men's tennis coach at Binghamton from 1987 to 2006, steering the program to unprecedented regional and national success. During his 20-year coaching tenure at the university, Mike produced 10 All-Americans, 14 academic All-Americans, and 26 NCAA qualifiers. His teams claimed 5 conference titles, advanced to the NCAA's 7 times, and won at a 67% clip. Coach Starke, who won 246 matches, held the niche of being a Conference Coach of the Year at all 3 NCAA levels. Early in his tenure, Coach Starke guided his then Division III Colonials to 11 consecutive national top 25 rankings from 1988 to 1998. He was named SUNYAC Coach of the Year in 1990, ITA Regional Coach of the Year in 1992, and coached nationally ranked players all 11 years at Division III. In 1995, Coach Starke assembled one of the finest teams in school history. The Colonials won 17-4, advanced to the program's first ever NCAA championship, crowned its first 4 All-Americans, and finished ranked 10th in the entire nation. He repeated as ITA Regional Coach of the Year. That began a run of 3 straight NCAA appearances and 3 straight top 12 national finishes between 1995 and 97. In 1996, the Colonials hosted the NCAA East Regional and stunned undefeated and 5th ranked Williams to advance to the NCAA Finals as one of the top 8 teams in the entire country. Coach Starke's program handled the department's NCAA divisional transition seamlessly, and his 1999 Division II team was ranked 30th in the nation and again advanced to the NCAAs. Now a Division I program in the America East Conference, in 2003, Coach Starke's Bearcats began another memorable 3-year run that featured 3 consecutive conference titles and NCAA berths, the program's first ever nationally ranked Division I player, and its first Division I regional team ranking 12th. He was voted America East Coach of the Year 3 straight years, produced the Conference Player of the Year 4 straight years, and also mentored countless scholar athletes. With prominent recruits from countries such as Israel, India, and Brazil, Coach Starke expanded Binghamton recruiting worldwide, paving the way for future success. Away from the university, Coach Starke owns and operates the Binghamton Tennis Center and was instrumental in bringing the successful USTA professional tournament to the area. Please welcome Coach Mike Starke to Binghamton University.
Wow, that's some introduction. For those of you out there that don't know me, you might be pretty impressed right now. But for those of you who do know me, you're shaking your head and you're saying, that's not the Michael I know. And for good friends and family, you're doing everything you can to not laugh out loud. You got your heads buried. My daughter Allie's over there. She's got her iPhone under the table and she's making a little Facebook post. She's saying something to the effect of this: "You will not believe what some guy just said about my father. He obviously has never met my father. LOL. My son Noah is a man of few words, and he gets right to the point. He simply looks up at his mom and says, 'Really?' But the best reaction is the old man. That would be my father. He's right over there. I can hear his voice right now. 'That a boy, son! Way to pull the wool over their eyes! If they only knew!' Yeah, Dad, if they only knew." So that leads me to the question of why me? Because when I think of the Hall of Fame, I think of great athletes. Athletes like Chris Coleman, Monique Hacker, Division III NCAA champions, or Rory Quiller, Wing Chun, Division I NCAA All-Americans, or some of my former players who are here today. Or I think of fellow coaches who dedicated their entire professional careers to the betterment of this department and university. True educators who touched the lives of thousands of students and showed me the way. Because I can tell you right now, I was never a great coach. But perhaps through the years, I learned how to become a good coach. And what might you ask is a good coach? And whether you're asking or not, I'm going to give you some of those ingredients right now. A good coach needs to have passion. You don't have to be a master tactician or know all the fundamentals. That comes with time. But you need to live, breathe, and sleep your sport. And instill that passion in your players. Be on committees, be active in the community. There's no finer example in this building of passion than Tim Shaw. A coach should be a motivator. Our department motivator and father figure is John Affleck. I recall many a fireside chat with John. Those would occur in his office. You would be walking innocently down the hallway, and John would beckon you in. 45 minutes later, you would still be in John's office. And it was not so much a chat as John would talk, and you would listen. And whatever viewpoint you entered that room with, you surely left with a different viewpoint. But John was correct. He was right. He said you can't motivate someone who's not motivated. But give me an athlete who's motivated. And it's your job to help them achieve their dreams and realize their goals. Help them dream their dreams. A coach needs to have consistency and stability. You need to be there for them every day. You need to show up every day. You need to avoid the pitfalls of the highs and lows. You cannot falter. You must be the rock. My rock was Kurt Kutz. Women's tennis. Along the same lines, a coach should be a role model, perhaps the quality that I struggled the most with, yet the one I took most to heart. It is not a do as I say, but not as I do world, but rather it is lead by example. My role model was my predecessor, the late Frank Pollard. Frank, it's been 25 years. God bless you. A coach should also be a psychologist. A coach wears many hats. Dad, mom, confident, mentor, friend, shrink. And no other adult on campus will have more interaction or influence that player more than coach. Our department psychologist is Gary Truce. And last but not least, the most important ingredient, a coach should be an educator. We all here place a great value on education. But please understand that athletics is more than just winning, but to touch young people's lives in their years, to teach as well as learn, and to absolutely fit into the school's model and philosophy of education and growth, and that we share that responsibility and we play an important role. When I think of education, I think of Steve Erber. When I retired, then and only then did I reflect upon the traits that I greatly admired in coaches. And while all the ones I mentioned all weave in together, I decided this. A coach, in addition to being an educator, should be a winner, a leader, and a humanitarian. Before I confuse you, let me define my version of winning. Because it is simply this: to try your absolute hardest, day in, day out, match in, match out. To leave no stone unturned, no strategy untried, and under the guidelines of great sportsmanship, the lessons that are learned along the way, and the bonds of friendship and trust that are developed. That, to me, is winning. I know it's late here, but do we have time for one story? One story. It's going to take a few minutes. And, John Hartrick called me last week and says, John Affleck called me and said, don't listen to Hartrick and your 30-minute allotment, take all the time you want. At your age, rambling is assumed, it's a given. So, John coming back to bite us here. So, here goes with the story. When I was in Division III, I had many outstanding American athletes. But as we transitioned from 3 to Division I, it became apparent to me that I'd have to recruit internationally. I had to go global. So I recruited a player from India named Akshay Rao, sight unseen. Flew into JFK Airport. My assistant volunteer coach at the time, Roger Sherwood, who lived in the Bronx, picked him up and immediately took Akshay to play tennis after that flight for 2 hours. So I anxiously waited by the phone, nervous excitement. I'm thinking, well, I have to buy this kid a one-way ticket back to India and hand in my resignation papers, get a job in the issue room. So Roger calls me and says, you happen to have recruited a very, very good tennis player who happens to be a better person than tennis player. That's how I felt about all my players. So thus started a love affair between Akshay, the team, and my family. On the eve of our second conference tournament, it became apparent to me that Akshay would be transferring. The next 3 days, Akshay did everything he could to lead us to our first ever America East conference title and NCAA berth. And I believe possibly the first team NCAA win ever. But in any event, we should give that team a hand. It was good stuff. They beat our rival Stony Brook. Give that team a hand. The following week, Akshay called me over to his apartment. Sitting down on his stairs, he announced that he indeed was transferring to Columbia University, and he started crying. So I did what any hard-nosed veteran coach would do. I put my arms around Akshay, and I started crying my eyes out. So then I go home to my wife. Remember, Akshay's like a son to us, and I tell Chris, and she starts sobbing. I continue to cry, big tears, so embarrassing. So next, I go tell my daughter, Allie, and as only young girls can say, she goes, oh no, not Akshay, the world is coming to an end. And she goes into hysterics. So I hug my daughter, in part to comfort her, but in part to hide the continuing flow of tears down my cheeks. So next, I go to my son, Noah, with great trepidation notes on the computer. I said, Noah, Akshay is transferring. He's leaving Binghamton. Superman will no longer be here. No response. So I say, Noah, you don't understand. Akshay is leaving us. You'll never see him again. So Noah turns around, looks at me, goes, who's Akshay? Is that K-Monkey? I have to go back and kill some more droids in Mortal Kombat. Bye. Thus started my healing process, the man of few words. But also I relearned a lesson that I learned a long time ago from my mentors. Had we not moved Akshay forward, he got to go to Columbia University where he graduated magna cum laude, played #1 for a tennis team that was just clearly better than ours, although Adam has settled that score in recent years. And had I not done my job, had we not done our job as a university, helping this young man move forward, the eagle flies out of the nest. Akshay went on to help Columbia win an Ivy League title, and he sends his regards from London. Subsequently, I recruited a player from Israel, Don Hanegmi. He's here with us. He was even a better player than Akshay. He led us to 2 American East Conference championships, and then he transferred to Brown University. For those of you that just live in the American East world, that's also an Ivy League institution, where he brought Brown 2 conference titles. I decided that I was going to charge the Ivies a finder's fee, but then I just retired. So, on a footnote, Don invited my entire family to his wedding in Israel, and my daughter and myself had the honor and pleasure of attending that week, a week-long wedding affair. So the bonds of friendship indeed run deep. The hard part is over for you now, but the hard part now begins for me is my thanks. First, I'd like to recognize my fellow coaches, former and current. As far as I'm concerned, you're all Hall of Famers in my book. You dare get out and make a difference. It'd be a hollow induction indeed if I could not share this with you, the blue-collar guy. We're a team. I'd like to thank the committee for my induction and recognizing coaches' contributions. I'd like to thank John Hartrick for, if there is such a word, his equanimity in how he treated all tier sports. His passion for the tennis program, surviving all these years, and being a friend. I forgot Patrick Elliott. Patrick, welcome. I've heard nothing but great things about you. And I'm also a huge fan, as I heard just today, that you're doubling the budget for the men's and the women's tennis program. Just kidding, it's supposed to be funny. Patrick, this is a great place. Stay a while, we're really glad to have you. To the 3 bosses whom I directly reported to. You were my guiding light and my educators. I could stand here all day to tell you how deep my appreciation is and how much I learned. Instead, I'll just leave it at this. I hope I became that coach you always wanted me to be. A little more, sorry. We're missing the highlight. To the team, the highlight, the moment they've been waiting for. And first, let me say this. I am here because of them. End of story. Game, set, match. So blame this long-winded, blame all this on them. It's their fault. So many great memories, so many great stories. When you first got wind of my induction, you sent me emails, Coach, tell this story, Coach, tell that story. And as I read these stories and walked down memory lane, I said, gosh, these are great stories. There's only one problem. I can't tell them here. You would love these stories, trust me. You would absolutely love them, and they'll be retold later tonight, but if I told these stories right now, surely the committee would rescind my induction on the spot. And I've waited this long, you've suffered too long here. So, we cannot talk about the 7-car pass in Vermont, the 9-grain bread in Memphis, the dating service I provided in Memphis, the Sun Diner, which was supposed to be this side of Niagara Falls, the pool hall in Claremont, California, leaving Shutter at a diner on purpose, unanimous vote. The entire spring trip to Bermuda is off limits with my wife and 2-year-old daughter in tow. Inexplicable that I ever took everyone there. And the one story that I could possibly shed a little light on, because it was the only time I was ever innocent of time and place and manner, was driving down the Daytona Strip, the famous strip, midnight on a Saturday, lost, looking for a hotel, and using my players as a human shield for both kids and my daughter who were in the van to stop them from seeing the sight that even Coach was shocked at seeing. And I'd never seen players jump to a task quicker in my whole life than that one. What I can say is this. We may strayed off the path a bit from time to time, but never too far. In the long run, we got it right. And when the bell rang, you came to play ball. You left it all on the court, and you left no stone unturned. You excelled both on the court and in the classroom. And as proud as I am of your accomplishments, I'm prouder still of who you become. Successful careers, fathers, husbands, humanitarians. And whatever I may have gotten out of you, you gave it back to me in spades. And it was special. And you gave me the 20 best years and enough memories to last a lifetime. And while it may not be appropriate, this is really about them, and a lot of players traveled a long ways today, a lot of players who could not be here today wish they could be here. If we could give them a hand. To my former assistants, you shored up my weaknesses, you brought in tremendous energy and enthusiasm, and you elevated the program. Together we made a great team, and we had a blast. Just one request about all those stories. Remember, what's happened on the road stays on the road. And to my dad, of all the values he, Mom, and Gail instilled in me, which helped me so greatly, not just as a coach, but in life, the best thing he ever did for me as a coach is he kept me grounded. He kept my ego in check. And that was a tough assignment. Weekly admonishments. And unlike me, he remains to this day one of the most humble guys I know, shies from the center stage light. And he constantly reminded me that it was not about myself, but it was about the team. And 3 of the greatest coaching memories I have is when he was with us for our 3rd American East title at Yale and joined us to the NCAA regionals in both Memphis, Ole Miss, and Louisiana. Okay, we're getting near the end here. On a lighter note, to my wife, Chris, to coin a phrase from my former rabbi, behind every great man, stands a very surprised woman. In this case, shocked, stupefied. The conversation went something like this. You're being inducted to what? The Hall of Shame? I said, no. The Hall of Fame. Is that another one of those evenings where you come home smelling of cheap beer and stale perfume? No, I promise. It's the real deal. It's a 4-star dinner, business attire. I know, I'll go out and I'll buy a suit and tie. And get this, they make a bronzed plaque of my face. Her reply, oh my God. What are they going to do with your nose? What do I tell the children? I don't know. Good questions. So, Chris, you've been my rock, my voice of reason, and my love. So, in closing, finally, and I am sorry for the length here, I cannot tell you how special it is to finally be among my former colleagues and mentors, Frank Pollard, Kurt Kutz, Tim Shaw, Steve Erber, John Affleck, and Gary Truce. In case you're ever wondering what it's like to receive this honor, words don't describe. It's a bit much. It's just a bit much. Anyways, suffice to say, you've given myself and all of us here a day we'll never forget, and yet one more memory to last a lifetime. Thank you so much.